Hello and welcome to the GOP Josh Show. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Biden border crisis. Hello and welcome to the GOP Josh Show. My name is GOP Josh. Thank you for tuning in today on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any of the other ones, including iHeartRadio and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter, GOPJosh20, and my Instagram is GOP_Josh. So there's a crisis at the southern border right now. I think most conservatives realize that, but I don't think a lot of liberals do. And they realize what the situation at the border is doing for our country. There are people from Iran, from Yemen, from Turkey, people on the National Terrorist Watch List are coming through the southern border in herds of 100, not people from the same country coming in herds of 100, but there are immigrants from all over the world coming in through the southern border in herds of 100, running past the border security agents at the one point of the wall that wasn't finished. Now, if Biden was to allow the wall to be finished, we wouldn't be having this problem right now. But he stopped the wall because I thought it was racist, and now it is hurting the American people. They think that something is racist when it's not, and that determines their policy. The thing about racism is that racism is subjective. You can think something is racist, but without factual evidence behind it being racist, you shouldn't be able to dictate your policy and what you run the country on based on opinions. I mean, not opinions. I mean, your opinion obviously is going to dictate what you're going to do when you're elected, but opinions of things that aren't accurate. The southern border wall is not racist. It's to prevent illegal aliens from coming in here, stealing our jobs, and hurting our country, which is exactly what's happening right now at the southern border. We have, like I said, Iran, Yemen, Turkey, people on the National Terrorist Watch List coming through the southern border trying to destroy our country. And that is exactly what they're doing, and they're able to get through the southern border and do it. And that is exactly what they are doing. That's exactly what's happening. So I want to play a clip right now. I think it's courtesy of The Hill, where Biden talked about going to the southern border. And pretty much he said he's not going to do it. Let me play that clip. Sorry if you hear the helicopter noise.
Travel to the southern border, sir? Not at the moment. Have you decided when you're able to share thoughts with other countries?
So I'm going to pause that. So the reporter said it was really hard to hear because it's always whenever they're in front of the helicopter, it's really hard to hear. But
Do you have any plans to travel to the southern border, sir? Not at the moment.
Do you have any plans to travel to the southern border, sir? Not at the moment. He's not going to go and see the crisis. The Republican leaders in Congress decided to go down there, in the House, decided to go down there and talk to the people on the ground who are most affected by these policies that Biden is implementing, including the zero deportations, which isn't true, but the allowing people to come through and not stop and stopping the wall from being built. The people that are actually being affected by these things are on the ground wishing that this wasn't happening because this is truly hurting their lives. Like I said, they're coming in herds of 100, maybe even more than that. If you're as a border security agent, a member of the ICE team, if you are able to stop one person that's coming through the southern border illegally per day even, or per horde, either way, you're lucky because these people are coming so fast. They have no regard for the surroundings around them. They have no regard for the country that they're coming into. They are just trying to make their way in here, and they're the highest priority when they are truly hurting not only our border security agent, but our country as a whole. So people are going to say this is an outdated quote, but I don't really care. Obama in 2005 said, "We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country." I have no problem with legal immigration if you're coming to this country trying to follow the American dream. But if you're coming here illegally, hurting our nation, hurting the people who work every day, hurting those people by taking their tax dollars for welfare or not paying your fair share of taxes, taking their jobs without, like not paying your taxes, or taking their jobs because you can pay illegal immigrants less because they're not on the books, then you are truly, you do not have the American dream. You do not represent the American dream. So Biden spoke out on the Cuomo allegations. We know that he has, I think it's 7 or 8 accusers now of sexual misconduct. And Biden was on with George Stephanopoulos, a fellow Democrat, on ABC News. And he said, quote, if the investigation confirms the claims of the woman, should he resign? Biden just said, yes, I think he'll probably end up being prosecuted too. How about right now, Stephanopoulos pressed, citing the growing calls for Cuomo's resignation from prominent New York Democrats such as Schumer and Gillibrand, who have argued Cuomo cannot be an effective governor amid the scandals. He said that's a judgment for them to make. A woman should feel pressured, or should be presumed to be telling the truth, but should not be scapegoated and become victimized by her coming forward. But there should be an investigation to determine whether what she says is true. That is what is going on now. And you have been very clear, if the investigation confirms the claims, he's gone. That's what I think happens. Biden responds, and by the way, it may very well be that it's hard to read a Biden quote. It may very well be that there could be a criminal prosecution that is attached to it. I've started with a presumption that it takes a lot of courage for a woman to come forward. Some are not anyway. It takes a lot of courage to come forward, so the presumption is that it should be taken seriously and that it should be investigated, and that is what is underway now. Like I said, it's very hard to read Biden quotes there. But I actually agree. I don't quite agree with Biden. I mean, there are so many accusations with credible sources and people keeping their story straight. That's what happened between the Trump accusers and the Biden accusers. Tara Reade kept her story straight every time that she was asked about it. The Trump accusers did not. Tara Reade came forward after having credible relations with Biden and working for him. The Trump accusers did not. Same with the Cuomo accusers. So let's not forget Tara Reade during all of this. Justice was never served for Tara Reade. Justice will probably not be served for the 7 accusers of Cuomo. And there are so many people on social media defending Cuomo, saying, oh, you were elected by the people, but you're not serving the people. Resign, Cuomo. That's my personal opinion. Just resign. So Candace Owens, she's starting her own new show on the Daily Wire. I'm so excited to watch that. I think it starts Friday. It's like a late night sort of thing. Kind of excited for that. But she's suing Cardi B. So this is an article from the Daily Wire. Candace Owens and rapper Cardi B feuded on Tuesday for hours after the singer was irked by Owens' criticism of her Grammys performance. I don't even want to talk about the Grammy performance. I didn't watch it just because I don't think it's appropriate to watch. It was from what I saw, it was not the greatest. But Cardi B posted a Photoshop tweet about Candace Owens' husband cheating on her with her brother. I'm not quite sure what that goes into. But and Cardi B's source for this Photoshop tweet was a blog called, there's not even a name to the blog, no proof. It's just Paula Till with no spaces. Very unprofessional looking blog here. I'm going to put it on the screen for my YouTube watchers. Not a very professional looking blog, and not a very greatly photoshopped tweet. So people are saying, oh, this is a real tweet. I have proof of it. I could easily make a tweet photoshoppable. Owens responded, I am literally laughing out loud, Cardi, my dear, that is clearly a Photoshop tweet. And this whole thing is not something that I should be talking about, but I'll put the link in the description of the episode if you want to read the article. But I'm kind of excited to see what happens with this case. Cardi B and Candace Owens have been having a feud, and this is just making me more and more excited for the Candace Owens show, because who knows what she's going to talk about on that show. They say it's going to be everything that that Candace Owens is. Very excited for that. So I think you have to be a Daily Wire member to watch the show, but if you see my cover art, you know that I am. So I'm going to be talking about it with you guys on the show because I'm very, very, very excited for the show and this lawsuit. So I will cover it more in detail once it started. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. So the Washington Post. I don't know if the Washington Post is ever a trustworthy source. The Washington Post issues a correction for its disturbing phenomenon on how the media uses anonymous sources. So, I'm going to just read this article from Fox News. Anonymous sources being used often during the Trump administration was deeply problematic, Fox News contributor Ben Dominant said Tuesday on outnumbered reaction to the Washington Post's massive correction to a January report about a phone call from President Trump and Georgia elections officials. So there was a phone call that said that President Trump was asking him to find the fraud in the election. And this was all from anonymous sources. No one trustworthy came forward and spoke about this. But they literally made up quotes. They trimmed up the article into tiny little segments and uploaded it to their website, claiming it was the full thing. Now, I can't read their full correction because democracy dies in darkness. But the Washington Post is behind a paywall. That is darkness. I literally clicked on it right here. Get every story for $1 a week. You can cancel it anytime. Literally on the same page. Democracy dies in darkness. Get every story for $1 a week. So I'm not able to read that, so I just have the media reports of it. The Washington Post made a massive correction Monday to a January report about the phone call between then-President Donald Trump and Georgia elections investigator France Watson, admitting it wrongfully attributed multiple quotes to Trump based on an anonymous source. The Post initially reported that Trump had told an election official working in Georgia's Secretary of State's office to find the fraud, which he narrowly lost to Joe Biden. However, a newly emerged recording found out he did not use those words. And Trump said she would be praised when the right answer comes out and encouraged her to closely examine mail-in ballots in Fulton County, the heavily blue and most populated county in the state. 2 months after the publication of the story, way after January 20th, way after it was originally released, and way after it was actually a big deal and a big story, because they can't show Trump in good light. The media has such a hatred against President Trump, they have to have a Trump figure. They're keeping him in the news. I do not remember. I mean, I wasn't heavily involved in politics in 2016, but I don't remember the right-wing media. I think Newsmax was around back then. I don't remember Fox News having such an obsession with Obama where they had to keep bringing him up in every single story that they wrote. But CNN's ratings are dropping. MSNBC ratings are dropping. Even Fox News and Newsmax OAN ratings are dropping. Actually, Newsmax may be going up, but they're dropping because there's a phenomenon here called Trump derangement syndrome that is making these news outlets lose money. Because when Trump's out of office, when Trump's not in the news, people aren't going to watch as much. The second Trump impeachment trial was one of the biggest, probably the most watched, most viewed TV event in all of 2021. I don't know how true that is, but I'm just having a feeling that it will be because people have an obsession with President Trump. People can't stand that an outsider came into the Washington politics, won, and tried to change America for the better, for the people, not for the politicians, for the people. The For the People Act should literally just be reinstating Trump as president, if I'm being completely honest, because that is the best thing that's happened in Washington politics for as long as I can remember, for at least the last 8 years, is President Trump coming in and taking over the reins as the president and truly working for the people. But the insiders in Washington can't stand this. And not only the insiders in Washington, but the media can't stand this. And that is why they waited so long to post a retraction to this article. So I want to read their lengthy correction. 2 months after the publication of the story, the Georgia Secretary of State released an audio recording of President Trump's December phone call with the state's top elections investigator. The recording, I'm doing my legacy media voice. The recording revealed that the Post misquoted Trump's comments on the call based on information provided by a source, not naming the source. Trump did not tell the investigator to, quote, find the fraud or say she would be a national hero if she did so. Instead, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize ballots in Fulton County, Georgia, asserting that she would find dishonesty there. He also told her that she had the most important job in the country right now. A story about the recording can be found here. The headline and text of the story have been corrected to remove quotes misattributed to Trump. I want to know, why did Ben Raffensperger, or whatever the name of the Georgia Secretary of State is, why did he wait so long to release the correction to the story in the full phone call? He should have released that the day the story went out, because he knew he had to have read this article and know that there were misquotes to President Trump in there that he heard or his office could have released saying, hey, this is not true, this is not correct. You need to do something about this because these quotes are not true and they are misattributing the President of the United States. But a story would not go viral if it was just a phone call between a president who was trying to make sure the election was not stolen and a staff member. That wouldn't go viral. That wouldn't make the money. That's the legacy media is so obsessed with money and so obsessed with President Trump. They can't make money without him, it seems like. And this isn't the first time that the legacy media lied about President Trump. There's an article from the Daily Wire, an analysis. The Scaramucci and Russia scandal on CNN. CNN retracted a story alleging that the Senate Intelligence Committee was investigating a Russian financier linked to Trump's transition team member, Anthony Scaramucci. According to the report, Scaramucci, who worked at the White House Directors of Communication for just 11 days, was under federal scrutiny for meeting with the head of a $10 billion Russia fund before the 2016 election. CNN based the entire story upon one anonymous source who claimed the two Senate Democrats were interested in whether Scaramucci promised the lifting of Russian sanctions during the meeting. 3 CNN journalists resigned in the aftermath of the retraction. 2 of them were Pulitzer Prize recipients. The New York Times corrected a story claiming that all 17 intelligence agencies affirmed that Russians orchestrated hacking against the United States. In reality, 13 of the agencies reached no such conclusion. BuzzFeed, citing the testimony of 2 anonymous federal sources, BuzzFeed News reported that the President Trump directed his longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, to lie to Congress about negotiations to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. The BuzzFeed article prompted Robert Mueller, who oversaw the Russia collusion investigation, to issue a rare public rebuke to the story. BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate, said Peter Carr, a spokesman for Mueller's office. BuzzFeed added an editor's note to the original story, inciting that the reporting was based on details. And the article just closed. Let me pull it back up. If it will load, I'm so sorry. The original story, inciting that the reporting was based on detailed information from senior law enforcement sources. Though BuzzFeed's editor-in-chief Ben Smith stated that the reporting included documents, specifically pages of notes that were taken during an interview of Cohen by the FBI, BuzzFeed did not release documents or the names of the anonymous sources. And one more. MSNBC anchor Lawrence O'Donnell reported in 2019 that the Russian moguls co-signed a bank loan for President Trump, a story that MSNBC later retracted. Only after Trump's attorney Charles Harder told the network to immediately and prominently retract, correct, and apologize for that false and defamatory statements. And then they have a quote there. We don't know whether the information is inaccurate, but we do know that it wasn't ready for broadcast, and that I do apologize. I'm going to be right back with more news right after this. Did you know that the GOP Josh Show is available wherever you get your podcasts? That includes Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, and Stitcher, as well as iHeartRadio and YouTube. Just search The GOP Josh Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow me on Instagram, which is GOP_Josh, and my Twitter is GOPJosh20. Now, back to the show. And we're back. This is The GOP Josh Show. Thank you for tuning in once again. So, President Trump went on Fox News the other day. I listened to the interview, or it was actually yesterday that I'm recording this 2 days ago, by the time you are hearing this. And President Trump came and talked about the vaccine. He talked about many different things. You can probably find that interview somewhere on YouTube. After prodding from, this is an ABC News report, or not report, but an article. After prodding from health experts and members of President Joe Biden's administration, former President Donald Trump has encouraged his supporters to get the COVID-19 vaccine amid a poll showing nearly half of them were unwilling to do so. Would you recommend to our audience that they get the vaccine? Fox News anchor Maria Martrabano asked Trump in a phone interview Tuesday night. Quote, I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But then again, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree that also, but it is a great vaccine. It is a safe vaccine, and it is something that works. So Trump backed the vaccine. Trump endorsed the vaccine, but I'm still not going to get it. I am a 14-year-old. I am healthy. There's no reason that I need to get the vaccine. There's no reason that anyone my age needs to get the vaccine. Vaccines are for insanely dangerous diseases that you cannot overcome. The majority of people can overcome COVID. If you don't feel safe, get the vaccine. More power to you. But I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to. I'm sorry, President Trump. I'm not going to get the vaccine when I don't feel a need to. So I love this story. And I'm really glad that I found this pretty much on the butt end of me looking at my notes. So David Hogg, he is as reporting by the Washington Times, a wannabe MyPillow competitor. And, they were having a pillow fight in February. I think I covered this a little bit. But he forgot to trademark the name of his company. This is, like I said, by the Washington Times. Progressive pillow entrepreneur David Hogg slept through the first part of creating a business. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. This story is just hilarious. Good Pillow got off to a nightmare start this week as multiple news outlets reported that the gun control activist apparently didn't trademark his company name. Now the moniker Good Pillow belongs to someone who is neither Mr. Hogg nor his announced business partner, tech entrepreneur William Legate. According to the trademark application, Good Pillow was being registered for a custom-built pillow to use the mark in commerce or in connection with identified goods and services. This application is now waiting to be assigned to an examining attorney approximately 3 months after the filing date, which will take place in May 2021. The image registered with the application does not match the logo on Hogg's or Legate's Good Pillow website. At the time of reporting, no other application for the name had been filed under either Hogg or Legate's name. Mr. Hogg and Legate announced their plans to start Good Pillow in early February, specifically to drive out business of the conservative entrepreneur Mike Lindell. We are going to prove that progressives can make a better pillow, run a better business, and help make the world a better place while doing it. The pair has not yet produced any pillows or bedwear. I love this. I remember Good Pillow was trending on Twitter for like 3 days, and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna be the best pillow company that there ever was. We are the best, yeah, we're so good. They didn't trademark their name. That's the first step to creating a business, is actually trademarking your name so no one else can use it. No one else can take the trademark and screw you out of it. And yet he doesn't trademark the name. You said progressives can run a better business, but you don't trademark your name. You do not trademark your company name. Oh, this story makes me happy. I'm all for competition. I'm all for people competing against other companies. But you have to remember to trademark your name. That has to be one of the first things you do when you're on such a massive scale, how many followers does David Hogg have on Twitter? Because I know that's where most of his followers are going to be. He has 1 million followers on Twitter. His business partner has 180,000 followers on Twitter. And their Good Pillow account has 82.5 thousand followers. So they are not they're not a small company. It's not like they are me or someone my size starting a pillow company. No, these are large scales. And I actually just found William Legate's official statement. There's a fraudulent company going under the name Good Pillow who started selling fake products after we announced the name. They are not affiliated with us. If you order from them, you may be scammed. So I guess that maybe this is the company who filed the trademark. I'm not sure. But I don't know, it's really funny to me. So I love to see where the story's going to go. I love to see if they just decide to quit making pillows. I mean, they spent so much money on pillows. I remember seeing Legate on Twitter. He was the only person on my feed for a week talking about, oh my goodness, I just spent $10,000 on pillows, the Bed Bath & Beyond. And you can't even remember to pay. I don't even know how much it is to file a trademark. You can't even pay to file a trademark. Come on. What are you doing? So speaking of what are you doing, I want to give all the props in the world to California Republicans at this time and California conservatives. California Governor Gavin Newsom readies for recall election fueled by backlash to pandemic restrictions. This is in the USA Today. California Governor Gavin Newsom isn't new to criticism or attempts to remove him from office. Republicans have crafted recall efforts 5 times in the 2 years he's led the state. But after being hailed as one of the nation's most formidable leaders in the fight against COVID-19, a 6th attempt to recall Newsom looks like it will certainly lead to a historic recall election. Something Newsom himself acknowledges. Quote, well, the reality is it looks like it's going to be on the ballot until we're ready to go. Newsom said in the recall effort at a news conference Tuesday. We will fight it. We will defeat it. The well-funded effort is promoted by determined Republicans, including Newt Gingrich and Mike Huckabee. It is fueled in part by backlash to Newsom's strict coronavirus measures that angered some Californians and gained momentum thanks to a lengthened recall process due to the pandemic. So they have just over 2 million signatures. They need 1.5 million valid signatures, and they're going through and they are making sure the signatures are legitimate. They couldn't do this during the election because that's not as important as making sure a Democrat stays in office. But they can check it for this petition, but they can't check it for ballots. Ironic, kind of funny. I'd love to see where this recall goes, and I'd love to see it get put on the ballot. And I'd like to see Republicans put someone who is actually qualified and someone who could actually take on Newsom against him if it does go to an actual recall vote. So the CDC is finally letting up some of their power, considering to shorten their COVID social distancing recommendations to 3 feet, according to the CNBC. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is working on updated COVID-19 guidance for schools that could reduce its social distancing recommendations from 6 feet to 3 feet. Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky told lawmakers Wednesday. As soon as our guidance came out, it became very clear that 6 feet was among the things that was keeping the schools closed, and in that context, science evolves. Walensky testified before Congress Committee on Energy and Commerce's Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, which is holding a hearing on the increased COVID-19 vaccinations. There's been one study that was published late last week that demonstrated in Massachusetts there was generally 100% mask wearing, that 3 feet was actually safe. The agency is reviewing several other unpublished studies on shorter social distancing guidelines as it revises its own recommendations. So, teachers in the majority of states are vaccinated, and kids aren't a proven spreader of this virus. Why isn't every kid back in school? Now, I'm victim to this. My school is back, and I'm not in, but parents should have the option to send their kid back 5 days a week to in-person school. Ohio has done pretty good at that, but other states needs to be doing that. Other states need to begin doing that as well, because it is the parents' decision to get a better education, and they will start going to other. They will start going to other. They will start going to other schools in the area if they have the ability to school their children, to school them properly. And that is another thing that school choice will come in handy right now. Speaking of CNBC articles and young children, school-age children could start getting vaccinated in early 2022, according to Dr. Fauci. The U.S. could begin vaccinating older kids against COVID-19 this fall, while elementary-age children may start getting their shots early next year. White House Chief Medical Officer Anthony Fauci told lawmakers on Wednesday. For high school students, it looks like they will be able to get vaccinated in the beginning of fall, very likely for the fall term. Fauci told lawmakers during a hearing with the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. Fauci said researchers will likely have enough data on immunizations for younger children 12 and under to begin giving them shots for the first quarter of 2022. The Food and Drug Administration authorized the vaccines from Moderna and Johnson & Johnson for people 18 and older, while Pfizer's vaccine can be used for people as young as 16. So, I know in Ohio, because that's really what I'm paying attention to as most, because I'm in Ohio. If you are 16 or older, starting at the end of this month, you can get the vaccine. But I don't know when they're going to open that up to pretty much anyone of any age. I don't know how many vaccines they'll need for that. And if you want to get the vaccine, get it. I'm not telling you not to. I don't think it's safe. But if you want to get the vaccine, get it. I'm not stopping you. I can't stop you. So there's one last story I want to talk about, which is Columbia University's graduation ceremonies, which is going to be segregated. Didn't we fight a whole civil war over segregation? Wasn't there long, peaceful protests to end segregation? Columbia University is hosting 6 separate graduation ceremonies on race and ethnicities, according to the New York Post. Columbia University is planning on holding 6 additional graduation ceremonies for students according to their race and other aspects of how they identify. The New York City Schools website details graduation ceremonies for Native, Asian, Latinx, and Black students taking place for Columbia College, Columbia Engineering, and their other schools at the end of April. Another dubbed FLI graduation is for the first generation and or low-income community. The school also hosts a lavender graduation for the, quote, LGBTIAQ community. Due to coronavirus restrictions, the ceremonies will take place online. It is unclear whether they separate deadline for nominating individuals in Columbia College, Columbia Engineering and Studies for the Multicultural Affairs graduation course. They did not immediately respond to Fox News' request for comment. The university on Tuesday issued a statement on Twitter regarding the graduation ceremony, saying it exists in addition to, not instead of, university-wide commencement and individual class days, and are voluntary and open to every student. They fought an entire civil war to end segregation. They had such large protests. What was MLK doing? He was trying to end segregation, saying my 4 little black children should be able to go with your white children, be in school, and it doesn't matter your race. That's the entire point of MLK. The entire point of the civil rights movement is to end segregation. And these people obviously are not understanding that because they're segregating the graduation ceremonies in 2021. Come on, Columbia University. What are you doing? So that is it for today's episode of the GOP Josh Show. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, GOPJosh20. And my Instagram is GOP_Josh. If you enjoy this episode, rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, or if your podcast provider allows it. Subscribe on YouTube for more exclusive content coming very soon. Talk to you guys next week. See you next week, America.